What if peace was never something you had to chase? What if clarity was never something you had to earn? What if the life you've been searching for was already here, waiting for you to stop resisting it? Because most people are not suffering because life is hard. They're suffering because they're fighting reality. They're trying to control everything, trying to force outcomes, trying to become something without ever letting go of what's holding them back. And that's where the problem begins, because real transformation doesn't start with control. It starts with surrender. And I know that word can feel uncomfortable because we've been taught that surrender means weakness, that letting go means giving up. But true surrender is not about giving up. It's about letting go of what was never serving you in the first place. Letting go of fear, letting go of overthinking, letting go of the need to control every outcome. And when you do that, something incredible happens. You begin to feel peace. Not a temporary peace, but a deep, unshakable, boundless peace. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. The kind of peace that comes from alignment. Alignment with truth. Alignment with purpose. Alignment with God. And when you look at the life of Jesus Christ, you see this perfectly. Not someone trying to control everything, but someone perfectly aligned, trusting, present, at peace, even in the middle of chaos. And that's the kind of life you were meant to live. Not a life of constant stress, not a life of endless striving, but a life of clarity, of purpose, and of quiet strength. And that brings us to something important: spirituality. It's not what most people think it is. It's not about appearances. It's not about titles. It's not about isolating yourself from the world. Spirituality is an inner journey. It's about removing the chains that are clouding your mind. Fear, worry, overthinking, ego. These are the things that keep you stuck. Not your circumstances, not your environment, but the noise inside your own mind. And the more that noise builds, the further you drift from peace. The further you drift from clarity. The further you drift from who you really are. Because at your core, you are not chaotic. You are not broken. You are a child of God, which means there is something divine within you. Something capable of peace. Something capable of discipline. Something capable of becoming more. Line upon line, choice by choice, day by day. And that's where the real journey begins. Not by changing everything overnight, but by returning to the present moment. Because that's where peace lives. Not in the past, not in the future, but right here, right now. And when you start living like that, you begin to notice something. Life itself is a miracle. Not just the big moments, but the small ones. The breath you're taking right now, the ability to choose, the opportunity to change. And when you see life like that way, everything shifts. Because now, you're not chasing happiness. You're experiencing it. And this is where the idea of sainthood comes in. not as not as some unreachable status, not as something reserved for a few, but as a way of living. Because a saint is simply someone who lives in alignment, someone who is sincere, humble, present, someone who has let go of unnecessary suffering and instead chooses peace, chooses clarity, chooses truth. And that kind of life is available to anyone, including you. But there's something you need to understand. This path requires honesty, because a lot of the things that are disrupting your peace are things you're choosing, habits, distractions, patterns, even things like lust. Because when you constantly feed your mind with overstimulation, with instant gratification, with things that pull you away from presence, you lose connection, you lose clarity, you lose control, and over time, that creates noise, restlessness, disconnection from God. But when you choose purity, something changes. Your mind becomes quieter, your thoughts become clearer, your spirit becomes stronger, and suddenly you're not being pulled in 1,000 directions. You're centered, you're grounded, you're aligned, and that's power. Not loud power, but not forceful power, but quiet, stable, unshakable power. That kind of power that comes from within. And yes, this path isn't always easy, because letting go can feel like loss. Letting go of habits, letting go of comfort, letting go of old versions of yourself. But it's not really loss. It's refinement. It's becoming. Because you cannot step into something greater while holding on to everything that's keeping you small. And for some of you, this journey is going to feel like a battle. Moments of doubt, moments of temptation, moments where you want to go back. But those moments are a part of the process. They don't mean you're failing, they mean you're changing. Because growth always requires resistance. And if you stay consistent, if you stay aligned, if you keep choosing peace over chaos, you will transform gradually, quietly, powerfully. And one day you'll look back and realize you're no longer the same person. You're calmer, clearer, stronger, more connected to God, more in control of yourself, more at peace. And that's the miracle. Not some sudden event, but a steady, intentional transformation from chaos to clarity, from resistance to surrender, from disconnection to alignment. And through that process, you begin to understand something deeply important. You were never meant to force your life. You were meant to trust it, to show up, to stay aligned, to keep moving forward, and allow things to unfold as they're meant to. Because when you are rooted in truth, when you are aligned with God, when you are living with intention, things fall into place. Not perfectly, but purposefully. And that's enough. So if you take anything from this, let it be this. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to escape your life. You don't need to chase something outside of yourself. You simply need to return. Return to presence. Return to truth. Return to who you really are. And from that place, everything changes. Because peace was never far away. It was just waiting for you to let go. And when you do, You won't just feel different, you'll become different, calmer, stronger, more aligned, living not in chaos, but in quiet, steady power.